Dr. Sleep has the almost impossible task of living up to not only a Stanley Kubrick film, but a Stephen King novel.
That's right.
So does this film live up to such astronomical expectations?
We'll let you know.
That's right, in our real take right now.
Dr. Sleep is directed by Mike Flanagan, who also directed The Haunting of Hill House and Hush, two great horror entries on Netflix that you should all check out. This film stars Ewan McGregor, Rebecca Ferguson, and Kylie Curran, and I was really excited to check out this movie because of its director, and I have to say that overall it did not disappoint.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. This was a movie that was highly anticipated.
That's right.
I came out of it thinking, wow, this was a good movie, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. I mean, obviously we'll get into some things that maybe were nitpicking on, but
sure, no, but overall
a good movie.
I thought it was better than it was going to be, and the challenge for this movie, you know, we both know, was keeping the, you know, the nostalgia from Stanley Kubrick's The Shining, right, but also maintaining the integrity of King's novel, right?
Right, and that's always hard to do, right? I mean, not only are you trying to follow up a classic from 1980, but you're also trying to adapt a novel, and you're always going to have people saying, oh, this wasn't as good as the novel, but you know, make a good movie, appreciate it for what it was, and it was good.
Yeah, and it feels like a fresh sequel, you know? Yeah. It definitely has scenes that look like they're straight out of The Shining. It's amazing how well they recreated some of those sequences.
Well, you better have.
yeah, that's the challenge, right? At the Overlook Hotel, and some of the same eerie and spooky images are back here, you know, and we don't want to give too much away, but definitely feels like its own movie. The vibe here, the atmosphere here is different from The Shining. To me, this is more of a drama, character-driven horror film, whereas The Shining, I feel, was more strictly horror, in my opinion.
Yeah, because you know they're trying to bring you back to this character, Danny, and they take it a step further by having him, you know, nurture this relationship with another girl who can shine as well, if not maybe more than he, right?
That's right, yeah.
And some people might say they didn't like where the director took the movie, but even though I felt like this was honestly, for me, two different movies in one, still not a disappointment. Now, what I mean by that is, you know, the first, I would say maybe the first two-thirds of the movie felt like Psychic Wars, and then after that, in the third act, to me personally, that's where I finally felt, okay, now here comes a really strong connection and nostalgic twist of The Shining.
I kind of like the way that the movie kind of takes its time at the beginning, though, because it is very much focused on the journey of these three characters, right? Ewan McGregor's character, of course, battling still some of the same demons that his own father was battling with alcoholism and, you know.
That's a nice thematic connection, which I thought was good writing.
And then, you know, you have Rose the Hat, played by Ferguson.
Excellently
and she very well played, and a good villain, in my opinion. And I was glad to see that a villain got as much screen time as like the hero in the movie.
Yeah, they do a really good job of fleshing out these antagonists. It didn't really create any, you know, sympathy from me, but I did appreciate the fact that they kind of showed you this is where they come from, this is why they do what they do.
Although I have to say that one of the things that irked me a little was that they didn't really tell you that much about her motivations for her being the way that she is. I'm talking still about the Rose the Hat character. And in the novel, I feel like they delve a little bit more into that.
You're going to compare it to the novel. There you go.
I'm trying not to. I'm trying to, you know, review this for what it is. Let's not forget about Kylie Curran, who in my opinion probably has the toughest job in the movie a little bit.
She has to hit a lot of ranges of emotions.
Yes, and so all of the main characters in this movie, I feel, are very well developed. And what I love about this movie is that its true horror derives from the personal demons of the characters. Much like Haunting of Hill House and Hush, the horror stems from the internal conflicts of the characters, the psychological horror that, you know, derives from the characters.
And I appreciated that too, because this wasn't a movie that was like, oh, let's do a bunch of jump scares. In fact, I can't even remember a jump scare from the movie.
That's right. Yeah, it's very rare for movies nowadays to not rely on jump scares.
Yeah, it's so overdone these days.
It's refreshing to see a movie that develops great mood and atmosphere, that is foreboding and eerie, and it's done wonderfully with lighting and a creepy musical score. And there's some CGI in there, you know, but the movie doesn't heavily heavily relying
exactly.
on the CGI.
And it's not detracting.
And it's not detracting, and it's purposeful.
Yes.
And it's there to help advance this, creepy, foreboding mood that I was just talking about. Very well executed horror.
Right. So speaking of things that are well executed, let's talk about the acting that contributes to that horror part of the movie.
That's right.
It was a scene involving Jacob Tremblay from the movie Room, and with Brie Larson. Remember, she won the Oscar for that.
That's right.
And this kid, talk about selling a scene, right? But that's not the point. The point was he was in a scene that was very hard for me to watch, especially being a dad. It was highly disturbing. I kind of felt like they kind of crossed the line a little bit, but they're taking a risk.
I very much enjoyed watching Dr. Sleep. I thought that the pacing was just perfect. It was a movie that was about 2 hours and 40 minutes long. Mm-hmm. It never dragged for me. I was thoroughly invested with the acting. Ewan McGregor did an excellent job. Rebecca Ferguson, Kylie Curran, all top notch. And I was, in suspense the entire time. This is well executed horror. So for me, I am going to give this 4.5 reels.
4.5.
That's right.
It's interesting because before this movie started, I was thinking in my seat, I bet you Bethel's going to give it 5 reels because he loves the heck out of The Shining.
Well, it's not an instant classic.
All right, so for me, I'm going to go ahead and give it 4 reels.
Okay.
Now, I agree with everything that Bethel was saying, but I'm a little more picky about certain things in movies. So I will say that, unlike him, I disagree with the pacing. I felt like it was inconsistent because there were times where I felt like it was slow, but not dragging so much, but it was slower. And then there were parts in the plot that were like boom, 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 boom. And I was like, whoa, hold on, what's going on here? You're just trying to advance things a little too fast. So for me, a little inconsistent. And the last thing was in the third act, I'm not going to give anything away because you see it in the trailers. That's pretty much where you get most of the hotel scene. For me, I thought that was going to be at least half the movie. So because of my preconceptions, my expectations, it kind of was a slight miss. So that's why 4 reels. It is worth going to the movies to watch.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, guys. Well, that's our real take on Dr. Sleep. If you go online, you'll notice that this is a highly polarizing movie. But you let us know what you think about this in the comments down below. And as always, if there's an Alamo Draft House in your city, definitely check it out there. Best places to watch movies.
And don't forget to look us up on social media. We're at Facebook at Real Screeners and Instagram real.screeners. And please join us next time as we present some more real takes on movies.
Dr. Sleep had the almost impossible task of trying to follow... Yeah, well, okay, Rusty.
That's right.
So just how well does this sequel...
match up? Flare up?
Flare up? Like my hemorrhoids?
Please say astronomical.
Astronomical. Astronomical? Necronomicon?
No. I knew you were going to mess up. I knew it.
I said novel. For no apparent reason, I said novel. A novel.
A novel?
I said a novel.
A novel.
Dr. Sleep is a movie that...
Kylie, what? Kylie Curran. Kylie Curran. Okay, Kylie Curran. Kylie Curran. All right. 2 great Netflix films. Netflix films on horror films. Horror films on Netflix. Yes.